Hello, everybody, and welcome. I wanted to give you a quick lecture here, or just sort of description of this common guide to trees of North Carolina. I'm Dr. Pawlak, and this is Forest Biomaterials FB 580, the sustainable bioeconomy. Um, Traditionally, we do this as a walking tour outside. Unfortunately, due to scheduling difficulties and the significant number of people in class that we have, we weren't able to find a time where we could do this. So we're doing this brief lecture and then activity to go along with it. And hopefully this gets you out, gets you looking at some trees and gets you in the mood or the perspective to be able to identify different types of trees that are out there. This guide that you see here is actually available here in North Carolina from the Department of Natural Resources. You can download it, but of course, it's also right on our Moodle site as well. And I encourage you to download it, maybe save it to your device, or if you're so inclined to print it off so you have a pocket guide when you're out looking at trees. You see the pocket guide here talks about different types of trees that we have here in North Carolina that you find commonly in different places. This does not cover all the different types of trees that are out there, but this covers a lot of the trees that you'll see if you go out for a walk in the woods, in the park, or around campus. I want to jump down here past the board and these initial things to talk about the tree identification. And I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I want you to read through this section in particular, and it will help you to try to identify different types of trees. And there's particular characteristics, right? So the shape, the size, the color, the shape of leaves, the texture, shape, color of barks and twigs and buds, the bark, the fruit, the flowers, and those sorts of things that you would see for these different types of trees as well. You should know by now, hopefully, that evergreen trees, or most evergreen trees that you see, are going to be softwood trees, and these are trees that have needles on them. Think of Christmas trees, that's a softwood. Most broadleaf trees are going to be hardwoods, right? So our two main types of woods, hardwoods and softwoods, and that'll help you with an initial identification when you start off. You see here in this guide, it'll walk you through the descriptors, showing you pictures that it typically uses as you read through the descriptions of the different types of trees that are out there. So in this case, you can see our needles, right? So needles on trees, that's a great indication of a softwood tree, a pine tree, an evergreen tree. Our broadleaf trees here as well. Here is a cone, right? A cedar scale-like cone that we see on there. So we have those types of things that we see. The different shapes of leaves that you'll see, the palmated compound, palmato lobe, pinnated, lobed, etc. Right? The linear type of leaf that you'll see, pinnated, compounded. So you get some ideas here of the different types of descriptors that they'll use as they go down through. Here they're talking a little bit more detail, right, about the different elements that you'll see of the trees, right? Opposite branching versus alternate branching, right? How the leaves are located here, the shapes of the different leaves that you'll see as well. And so these are all really good tips to help you identify the tree. You can see the tips of the leaves versus the base of the leaves, right? The different shapes that we can have, and these help you with identification. The edges of the leaves, how they look around the edge. If you have a flower on the tree, you may be able to look at that. Not that season right now for flowering trees too much, so it might be hard to find them. And this is how the tree would be located in terms of how it's going to branch out, right? The different ways that it will branch out and where the flowers will occur on that. Here's some description of the different types of fruit. Now remember, fruits are only going to occur on hardwood trees, right? Because they are the ones with a covered outside to them. So fruits, we're only going to see those for our different types of hardwood trees. And then for our softwood trees, instead, we're going to see cones, right? Different types of cones. Looking at the pith or the center here, this maybe is something that you're not going to really need to look at in too much detail. The reason why is you really have to have a microscope or a loupe to be able to see this and to be able to look at that. You can look at the leaf scars, right? So this is where the leaf fell off the twig, right? So as it fell off the twig, what kind of scar did it leave on there? That can help the shape of the buds, right? What do the buds look like? There are different types of buds that you'll see in there as well. And then you'll see it'll identify the different types of trees. So let's look at one particular tree right here. This is our eastern white pine, Pinus strobus. Really common tree. You can see here is where its common range is, mostly in the mountains of North Carolina. You might find some in this area as well, but by looking at this map here, you can identify already. It's probably not a good chance that you're going to find it around Raleigh, but you could probably find some because we're sort of on the edge of its territory here. It tells you where it likes to grow in the mountains, into the Piedmont regions. It likes to grow on high, dry, sandy, and rocky ridges. Does better in cool, moist, loamy soils, right? So when I'm looking for this tree, I'm looking it for someplace that's high and dry, right? So high and dry, rocky ridges, those sorts of areas. The eastern white pine, right, Pinus strobus, has these bushy, soft, bluish-green needles that are flexible and 3 to 5 inches long. They grow in bundles of 5 and have 3 to 5 white stomata on the surface of each needles. So if you looked at these bundles of needles here, you'd see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that's a clue that you can use here. And we can't see the stomata on these, but right, there would be some sort of stomata. Those are little circles that you can see on the fiber. Now the cones grow in the summer, right, of the second season, opening to discharge, right? They leave their seeds in July and August. The cones here are 4 to 8 inches long, so a lot of variability in the cone. They're curved, stalked, and non-spiny scales. So you get a picture of the cone here. A lot of variability in the length, so maybe not a great way to identify that particular tree based on that. The bark is usually smooth and greenish and skinny. On old trunks, it's dark and gray. Shallow fissures, broad, flat, lobing, longitudinal ridges. Trees commonly reach 100 feet in height and 4 feet diameter. So what does this say? This says if you see a really big tree that's pretty mature, right, 100-foot, 4 feet wide tree is a big pine tree out there, we would think that this is, right, a potential candidate for what might fall into an eastern white pine. It says here that it's long-lived and known to reach over 200 feet. The wood is light, straight, and grainy. A large part of the winter squirrels, the boomers, right, consist of the white pine seeds. So it's giving you some ideas here, maybe not identifying specifically what this type of pine tree is, but it's giving you where it grows, some things to look for on the needles, right? What the cones might look like. So you say, okay, maybe that's a candidate for our tree. Then you go and you say, well, what else might be a candidate? It's a shortleaf pine. You look through its description, see if it matches the tree you're looking at. Oh, okay, it doesn't match that. Or maybe it's a loblolly pine. Okay, these loblolly pines, oh, really common pine tree here, especially around the Raleigh area. Matter of fact, most of the pine trees, bigger pine trees you'll find around here are going to be these loblolly pines. You see where they're located, right? Okay, here's the difference. So now if we're looking at this pine tree and we see it has needles in clusters of 3s, 1, 2, 3, instead of 5, that's pointing now away from it being the white pine and towards a loblolly pine. Talking about the length of the needles, what they look like, they're cones, right? Different shaped cone, right? So we look at them and go, oh, that's a different shaped cone than we saw for the white pine. And so then we might narrow it down further, right? And so you can see some other things, similar size. This is a big tree as well. We would kind of go through each of these different trees, narrowing them down until we find one that really matches the description and say, yep, that's the tree that we're interested in. That's the tree that we have here. For this assignment then, once you go out and you do that, take a picture of the tree, tell how you found out that the tree was that particular type of tree, and describe where did you find that tree. So you would tend to find certain trees in certain areas. Some trees like to grow just about anywhere, but some trees are really particular on where they want to grow. And you'll probably find that they're growing in the area that they like to. So with that, that's just a little bit of an overview of how to use this handbook here. Take some time, go through it, go for a walk outside, explore the area, get to know trees a little bit better. I hope you take some time over this weekend or maybe one evening coming up. Enjoy the outside, enjoy being in nature. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.